Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peterisms, where I tell stories of my life and just little things that I've learned as I've grown into the person that I am today. And it's been a day or two since I've read some meditations over here, so I've been reading the memes, the quotes. I call them memes, but I guess they're just quotes. Since I've been reading the quotes over here, I've been sharing some personal stories of my life and reading some comments from you guys, and I know that so many of you love the meditation, so I thought today, as we're starting our weekend, it's Friday, hope y'all are having a fantastic Friday. I thought as we start the weekend, let's let the universe speak to us today and give us some wisdom. So I brought out my two favorite meditation books, the Melody Baby books, The Language of Letting Go and Journey to the Heart, which are now, this one's actually just a couple years old and it's starting to get kind of like worn down because I like pull it open like this and whatever. All right, so let's get in here. Today is May 17th. Let's see what The Language of Letting Go has to see. It's like you can tell like the binder is like starting to break. May 17th, let's see what the meditation is for today. Boundaries. Oh my God, I feel like we've talked about that forever. Yesterday was self-love. So should we talk about self-love and boundaries? Let's do a little bit of both today. Okay, self-love, May 16th. I woke up this morning and I had a hard time for a while, said one recovering man. Then I realized it was because I wasn't liking myself very much. Recovering people often say, I just don't like myself. When will I start liking myself? The answer is, start now. We can learn to be gentle, loving, and nurturing with ourselves. Of all of the recovery behaviors we're striving to attain, loving ourselves may be the most difficult and the most important. If we are habitually harsh and critical toward ourselves, learning to be gentle with ourselves may require dedicated effort. But what a valuable venture. By not liking ourselves, we may be perpetuating the discounting, neglect, or abuse we received in childhood from the important people in our life. We didn't like what happened then, but find ourselves copying those who mistreated us by treating ourselves poorly. This is very, very important. This is understanding the pattern. We can stop the pattern. It says we can stop the pattern. We can begin giving ourselves the loving, respectful treatment we deserve. Instead of criticizing ourselves, we can tell ourselves we performed well enough. We can wake up in the morning and tell ourselves we deserve a good day. We can make a commitment to take good care of ourselves throughout the day. We can recognize that we're deserving of love. We can do loving things for ourselves. We can love other people and let them love us. People who truly love themselves do not become destructively self-centered. They do not abuse others. They do not stop growing and changing. People who love themselves well learn to love others well too. They continually grow into healthier people, learning that their love was appropriately placed. Today I will love myself. If I get caught in the old pattern of not liking myself, I will find a way out, a way to get out. Such a great meditation, such an interesting meditation, you know? I think this is something that, and I feel like I've talked about this in the last couple videos, and I've talked about it on my vlog as well, but this is something that I did for a really, really long time. And I think sometimes we almost kind of complicate it. Well, I can only speak of my journey. I think often in life I've really complicated this, right? You know, I grew up in chaos, so it's more comfortable for me to live in chaos. I grew up being put down. It's more comfortable for me to put myself down and have other people put me down. That's actually a more comfortable place for me than when people lift me up. For a long time, and I really had to kind of like embrace this over the years, when people give me compliments or people would, you know, applaud any of my successes, or if I had any successes, you know, anything like that, and people would say congratulations, like you did such a great job or whatever, like, or thank you so much, or you look nice today, or, you know, you're really a great friend, or whatever people would say to me that was in a positive manner, I had such a hard time hearing it. It was like, you know, like a water and an oil slick kind of like coming off of me. It was like, I couldn't hear it. I didn't know what to do with those comments, right? And for a long time, I believed that it was because I believed that I wasn't good enough, and I believed that I wasn't deserving of love and things like that. And I do think that that was true. You know, I cited this, I think, on my vlog yesterday or maybe over here. I love the quote. There's always little bugs flying around. I love the quote in Pretty Woman when he tells her that she's beautiful, and she says, the bad stuff is easier to believe. When someone tells you something long enough, you start to believe it. Well, the reason I love that quote so much is because it's so true of my life and so many people's lives, that when you start to hear the same things over and over and over again, you're stupid, you're an idiot, you're not good enough, you're this, you're that, putting things down, right? When you start hearing those things over and over and over again, you really start to believe it. I just read this story online. It just breaks my heart about this 10-year-old in Indiana, in Greenfield, Indiana, that took his life because he was being bullied in school, you know? And it just absolutely breaks my heart. I think that what happens is when somebody repeatedly tells you something over and over and over again, it doesn't matter if one person like your mother or one person like your spouse is telling you good things about yourself. It's easier to believe the mass negativity, right? And I think that we don't often understand the grave negativity that we are putting on people, that people have put on us, right? And so we minimize that. And we start to believe that over time, that negative talk and those things that people said to us, like, I mean, people used to say to me all the time, I can remember, like, I would struggle with something in school. I mean, this was way back in the day when, like, teachers said this stuff to people, you know, like, teachers would say, well, like, I mean, everybody else is getting this, why aren't you getting it? Which, for me, you know, just affirmed, well, you're stupid, you're not getting this, you know, whatever. And I believed that for a long time. I believed I was stupid at things. I believed I wasn't very, very smart. I believed that for a really, really long time, you know? And then I would have other kids in class say things to me like, oh, you're so stupid, you got to F on this or whatever. And I just, you know, I just shrunk into myself. And I started believing those things that people said to me. And that's a very dangerous thing, because then what happens is you write this tape in your head, right? And you play that tape over and over and over 1,000, 100,000 times a day in your head. You're not good enough. You're stupid. You're smart. You're overweight. You're ugly. You're not good enough. Nobody will love you. You're not lovable. You're a bad person. You're not a good person. You know, on and on and on. You start to believe it. You hear that tape. You write that tape based on the things that people have told you. But then you run that tape through your head 100,000 times a day, and you start to believe the things that people tell you, because the bad stuff is easier to believe. You know? The thing is that when one person says it, it's one thing. When two people say it, it's another thing. When it's somebody important to you that's been saying it for years on end, like a parent, then it means something. When numerous people are saying it to you, like in my experience with being bullied in school, then it means something. Because why would all these people be wrong? And then you start to buy into that. And that's a dangerous thing to do, right? I just did this video yesterday where I was talking about we know our own story, we know our own truth, and that's not anybody else's to take away from us. They don't have that right. That's our freedom, is knowing our story and knowing our truth, right? But it's dangerous when we start to believe those things. You know, I, for a long time, believed that my lack of self-worth, my lack of self-love was because I never believed I was good enough. But I never really went a whole lot deeper than that, right? The reason I never believed that I was good enough was because I had written this tape in my head that said I wasn't good enough. It was actually evidence that I wasn't good enough of all of these things that people had said to me. The tape that ran in my head was literally voice clips of things that people had said to me through the years, all the things that people had said to me. It was, you know, a clip that ran and ran and ran through my head. Well, I bought into that. It wasn't that I never believed that I was good enough. It was never that I believed that I wasn't deserving of love. I had hoped that I was deserving of love. I was hoping that I was good enough, and I was hoping that I deserved more. Well, hoping for it means that somewhere inside of me I believe that that's true, which means I always knew it was there to exist, or that it was there and it existed, which means that if you hope for it at all, it means that you have to know that somewhere deep down inside of you, you know that you're good enough. You know that you deserve better. You know that you're lovable. To even have that idea in our heads at all, to hope for it, means that deep down inside of us somewhere, we know that exists. We've just been believing the lie for a very, very long time, you know? We've just believing the lie that other people have told us for a very, very long time. I'm not believing somebody else's lie today. Other people do not get to control my life and dictate what goes on in my head and what I think about myself. Life is really, really short, and I am not willing to hand it away to somebody else that they can run their tape in me in my head. I've had that happen to me. I dated a guy when I was using that added to that tape. I have a whole tape over there of what boyfriends think, right? You know, I can remember like going down this escalator and then you're bottom heavy and look at your butt and how, I mean, he wasn't using that, saying other things, but look at how big your butt is, and, you know, and I'm still conscious of that to this day. And I have a pretty flat butt today, you know, but I still hear that, and that triggers my body dysmorphia, and it triggers like my eating issues. And he said it to me so often, so many days, and his friends would laugh at me and things like that, right? And when I would ever challenge that, he'd say, you're going to challenge me? You're stupid. You don't know what you're talking about. And that brought up all the stuff from the past. And it was like this person later on top of that person later on top of that person later on top of that person. And what I started to believe was, well, not all these people in my life can be wrong. I must be a piece of shit. dangerous. Don't ever believe that. You are not a piece of shit. You are worth it. You are valuable. You are good enough, and you deserve much better. And you know that deep down inside. You just have to find that and pull it out and make it true for yourself. Period. End of story, as I've been saying lately. My mom used to say it all the time. I don't know what's all of a sudden got me saying it, but you need to pull that out, right? You need to rewrite the tape in your head. And at first it will feel so corny. But let me ask you this question, because when I first started doing this, back in the day when my sponsor, my therapist would have me do these exercises where I had to stand in a mirror and I had to say, you're a good son, you're a good husband or boyfriend, you're lovable. And I'd be like, this is so corny. Why am I saying this into a mirror? I almost couldn't do it because I was laughing, right? Some of the things I would look in the mirror and say to myself would get me to start crying. But let me ask you this question, because this is something I went through back in the day when I started doing it. Why is it when we say those things to ourselves in the mirror, it's so hard to A, believe, and then it also feels like a cheesy exercise? Why are we doing this? Do it tonight. Go look at yourself in the mirror and say, you are good enough. You are a good wife. You are a good father. You are a good mother. You're a good son or daughter. You're a good friend. You deserve good things. Tell me if it doesn't feel corny and cheesy. Tell me if your inner saboteur doesn't attack it and tell you that this is the stupidest thing in the world to do. We can't stand in a mirror and tell ourselves good things, but we sure as shit can stand in a mirror and tell ourselves bad things and believe it. I can stand in a mirror and cut myself down from here to the bottom of my toes in 2 seconds flat and feel like a piece of crap and believe every bit of it, and it never once feels corny for me, right? I can do that, but I don't want to do that anymore. And today I'm choosing not to do that. Today I'm choosing to lift myself up and know that I'm good enough and know that I'm lovable and know that I'm worth it. And so are you. And don't ever forget that. Don't ever forget that. Keep that hope alive in you inside, you know, keep that hope inside of you alive. Hope is a powerful, powerful thing. You are good enough and you deserve better. I love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.